All right, give me American stupidity. Hit me with it.
31 past the hour. Let's take a live look at the markets at this hour. The Dow has been down substantially all day. It's down almost 3.37%. That's a drop of more than 1,400 points at this hour. The S&P is down 4%. NASDAQ is down more than 5% at this hour. Now, this whole situation is a reaction to the president's escalating his trade war by announcing new sweeping tariffs yesterday. Steel and aluminum imports are not included in the new tariffs because President Trump's 25% tariff on those imports are already in effect. Joining us now is Stephen Capone, president of Capone Iron Corporation of Massachusetts. His company makes steel stairs and handrails, among other products, has about 100 employees. And Stephen, I can't thank you enough for being with us this morning. I know that you are actually in favor of the tariffs vis-a-vis aluminum and steel. Why?
Well, I am. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on. Well, the 232 tariffs, as I know it, will help slow down the import of cheap raw material coming in through Mexico and Canada. Those cheap imports are hurting the...
You use those raw materials to make your goods. Are you also the operator of an iron mine? Have you vertically integrated the process of constructing steel stairs and rails? Do you have an iron mine? Do you have a foundry where you smelt the iron?
Steel fabrication industry here in New England, especially here in New England, we're being decimated by foreign competition and foreign steel coming through Canada, specifically Quebec.
So how is that actually, it's dumping essentially, and what is it that has been done in the past to deal with that?
Not much. Since the inception of NAFTA, we've seen our industry just get, wiped out here. We've lost over 40 shops in 20 years. We're in a position right now, we're playing in
Okay, one second. Capone Iron Corporation. If you have 40 shops, you should have a Wikipedia page. Got a LinkedIn. Capone Iron Corporation. Okay, they're like big on Americana. Proud to be one of New England's top steel construction firms, providing full-service, expansive solutions, blah, blah, blah. Creating American jobs, generating American tax dollars, supporting the American economy. Project coordination and management, engineering and detailing, project management, steel fabrication, steel finishing and coating, scheduling, coordination, and oversight of steel installation. Okay, so you don't have an iron mine. It's the slippery slope that these people never seem to think about, okay? Do you think this guy would be happy if all of the raw materials that he was sourced came from America, where he had to pay way the fuck more for them? Like if all of the iron he was getting sourced, all the stuff that went into his foundries, all that was being poured in from American mines, do you have any idea how expensive that would be? Oh, no. We're fine with getting the raw iron from other countries because that's when we get to benefit from the import. But when people are importing pre-processed steel, that cuts into our margins. Okay, well, you're just one step further up the ladder. You're not fixing the underlying problem. But it's patriotic to pay high prices now? Yeah, well, it seems like if he just closed 20 shops or whatever, he probably can't afford higher cost steel or higher cost iron.
A field that's unfair competition with our friends north of the border. The same thing with the fabricators who are...
Also, how the fuck is it unfair to compete with Canada? Economically, they're on par with us, more or less. What do you... It's not... the imports that you get from Canada, it's not like Mexico or you're getting it from Brazil or another country that's a tier or two below us in development. Like, Canada's right up there. Yeah, we're not getting the Indian steel.
Border, the southern border.
It just doesn't want competition.
With Mexico. I mean, you have people competing against shops in Mexico. They're paying their wages at $1.30 an hour. You can't overcome that. And we have, a great amount of steel fabricators right here in New England just trying to survive. We have generations of family businesses here, 3 and 4 generations. Capone being one of them that has 3 generations presently. The Novel Iron family, 4 generations. The S.L. Chasey family, just multi-generational type businesses that have even multi-generational workers out on the shop floor. we're being wiped out. They're an unregulated monopoly presently.
An unregulated monopoly. What the f does that mean? You're my brother in Christ. You're importing the steel. What do you mean unregulated? Subject to American regulations when you import it.
You know, I was thinking of the extraordinary presence and the benefits that the U.S. steel industry has given.
I legit am starting to believe the weak men create bad times mantra. No, I believe it unironically. It's just that what defines weak men is like a class position rather than like whether or not you have a septum piercing, you know? Like dumb like Joe Rogan will have the IQ of a fly in soup and then go on and say like, well, the reason society is collapsing is because people expect to have healthcare for free when other countries also have healthcare for free. But in reality, it's people exactly like this. I don't even think, like, this person might not necessarily be particularly unintelligent. It's just that class positioning and propaganda have made him like a whiny, unintrospective motherfucker. Right-wing politics are fundamentally grievance politics. Every single argument starts with the presumption that you are the most victimized snowflake in the world, you know?
Your family, so many other families, but the nation as a whole. I was remembering now the Massachusetts crisis that John F. Kennedy had with U.S. Steel at the time, and I'm just wondering, so many years have passed, and I'm wondering, Stephen, what do you see as the solution to give you and all of the other companies a fair shake?
Well, perhaps maybe there's the tariffs sound stiff, but I think the president is doing a good job, a great job, in fact, doing what he has to do. I heard the congressman on before me, and I understand his sentiments as well about the chainsaw analogy, but sometimes you need a chainsaw to cut off most of the dead limbs before you get the scalpel out and clean it up. So, but I think something has to...
These people don't think. They exclusively think in thought-terminating cliches, like they've been taught to. You know, they never actually, if you try to argue with any of these like for one, yeah, in this analogy, he is the dead limb. He is the one who can't compete. He is the one who can't lower his costs to the point that he's capable of competing with Canadian imports. He is the dead limb. But even besides that, like they're like allergic to consideration. They do not engage with what any of this means. It's all slogans to them. It's buzzwords. I know that's not new or specific to conservatives, but it's worse now than it basically ever has been. It's crazy.
To be done, specifically here with the 232 tariffs as they affect New England. They favor the mills, the big corporations. We're steel fabricators. We fabricate the structural elements that go into the buildings, the columns, the girders, the floor assemblies, and all that basically make up the building skeleton. Right now with the 232 tariffs, it favors the mills, so our competition north of the border, and I'll focus on New England, can buy that steel domestically here in the U.S., ship it north, fabricate it, ship it back, and still sell it without tariffs. They're an unregulated monopoly. Something needs to be done.
That's
we need
not
to
what
put
that means.
The steel industry back into business here in New England.
Stephen, is there going to be pain for the workers?
Everything's gone up with or without tariffs. I just got news that my health insurance is going up again. The president is 10 weeks into his term. We need to give him an opportunity to see what he can do.
Jesus Christ, man. There's never going to be a turnabout for these people. There's never going to be a moment. Like, I bet you that even when FDR was halfway through the New Deal, there were literally like tens of millions of American voters who were like, well, Hoover did the right thing, and FDR is a communist, and he's destroying the country. The New Deal, this is Hoover's economy. It just took a while for the rebound or whatever. It's like 1941... That is literally true. Yeah, no, there's never going to be a turnabout. It'll hit when the pink slips roll out. No, it won't. No, it won't.
It's a tall task, but we need to do something to lower costs for our companies, for our workers, for everything. I'm sure it's going to hurt the Capone family as well when we go to market.
Stephen Capone, I thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Well, good luck going to market in this market. Piece of shit. Scott Bessent went on CNN, and the only thing that I know about this interview is he was like, hey, other countries, please don't tariff us back. It would really suck if you hit us with retaliatory tariffs. Like, I would really appreciate it if you didn't do that. We'll talk about Xi Jinping. The European Union and China have been trying to like strengthen economic ties to cut American dependence. They have been like rapidly, dude. China is reaching hands across the world right now. South Korea, Japan, the European Union. It's a wonderful century.
When you look at the sum total of all of the numbers on the chart that the president brought out in the Rose Garden earlier, the United States is about to have the highest tariff rates in the world. I sat down with the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent about all of that and more at the White House earlier. And Secretary Bessent, thank you so much for being here. This is obviously a massive announcement that the president just made. I know there were a lot of options being considered behind the scenes, different pathways. How did the president come to this decision?
Well, look, the president's had a vision for a long time. He's been talking about tariffs. He implemented China tariffs in his first term. So he has been thinking about this for a long time. And with the reciprocal tariffs, there are a group of...
He's a billionaire, right? Yes, like half the people in Trump's presidential cabinet, Scott Bessent is a billionaire.
Factors is one, excuse me, what's the other country's tariffs? As important, or sometimes more importantly, what are the non-tariff barriers? Is there currency manipulation, and is there unfair subsidy to labor or finance costs?
Yeah, and when you look at this on the reciprocal tariffs themselves, how did you come up with the calculation essentially in terms of what this looks like for each country? Because obviously we're looking at the numbers here. There are different ones. And I can see some of the countries disputing some of these reciprocal tariffs, saying that's not actually what we charge. What would your response to that be?
Well, I can tell you, U.S.
I hope so badly. Like, I need that. This is like an emotional need, not a want, okay? I need other countries to realize that we are just an enemy. These tariffs aren't a mistake. You can't ration or reason with or engage in some rationale. We're just an enemy nation. We're a rogue state. We're the Axis. You cannot, like, no appeasement. Hit us with the worst tariffs you can hit us with, okay? Buckle down. Listen, okay? My deepest apologies to the people of Vietnam, of Cambodia, of Bangladesh, my friends over in the EU, everyone, okay? But your ass is also gonna need to be eating rice and beans, okay? It's World War III. The stock market is the battlefield. You need to get your asses in gear, okay? Everyone is going to be hurt by this. But it's very, 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 very important, however much everyone is hurt, that we lose.
TR has the volumes of data, and they've been doing it a long time. So, and all this will probably be challenged in court. And I think that USTR and Trump's first administration won over 4,000 lawsuits. So I think the data is very robust.
So you expect that if there are any legal challenges that the administration would be successful on that front?
I think the data is very robust, and it's going to be difficult to challenge.
And as we're looking at this, on China, for example, some of the nations, there's the baseline 10% tariff, and there's a reciprocal tariff. China has this.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has refused to reciprocate tariffs. First of all, I appreciate you not having the faith in me to remember who Keir Starmer is, but I guess it's good to cover your bases with how often I start stream tired. I wouldn't expect much from the UK because the UK already cut itself off from the EU in the hopes that it could side with America as part of a broader right-wing culture war shift against European federalism. Like, don't expect much from the UK because they have already thrown in with us and are kind of ride or die. It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest. They're very compromised.
This 34% tariff. There were already 20% tariffs in place on China. So is that 34% on top of that, meaning it's a 54% reciprocal tariff on China?
I believe it is.
Okay. And so when you look at that on the reciprocal tariffs, as these are going to an effect, I imagine some of these countries are going to call and try to negotiate this. Is that an option for these countries over the next few days, or what is the White House's mindset on that?
Well, I think the mindset is let's just see where we are, and then we'll see how President Trump feels about all this.
Okay, so it's essentially up to President Trump if he's in the mood to negotiate with some of these countries.
Well, I mean, it's not the mood. It's the how how are we seeing things? I think the real thing is going to be, and that he's going to gauge the tariff level by, it won't be necessarily the calls from the leaders, it's going to be the calls from industry.
Also, I know it's been a long time since the old times, but I just feel it important to remind people that it's not actually normal for members of a presidential cabinet to treat the president like a Greek oracle whose divine message they exist only to interpret. Like, generally speaking, members of a presidential cabinet are like experts in their field who have strong opinions and often argue with the president. They're not a palanquin bearer troop that are there exclusively to like be the voice of the emperor.
Saying, okay, how can we get these off? And he's going to say, you can get it off. Bring your factory to the U.S.
Yeah, and obviously with the cars.
How long does it take to build a factory in the U.S.? Like 2-3 days?
Are getting a 25% tariff starting at midnight. If half the cars coming into the United States are Ford made, that's hard to turn around overnight, as you know. So what would you say to people in the auto industry who are worried about that timeline and how quickly that could shift?
Buy American.
And what about American-made cars and produced cars that are being made using foreign-made parts?
Well, I believe the USMCA is exempt.
Yeah, those that are compliant with this. Obviously, yes. Canada and Mexico are not on here. A lot of these are our closest allies, South Korea, Japan. When you look at those countries and the tariffs that
they're our closest allies. He didn't tariff Russia or Belarus.
Are being charged. If they're calling, what would you say to those nations who may have concerns about how to lower these numbers?
Well, I would say they've been doing it to us for a long time. And if they don't like tariffs, then...
It is insane how we've taken grievance politics to its like furthest logical conclusion. Like, every Republican argument is, well, the bad thing I did is because they did the bad thing first, and now we're doing it at this level. We made up numbers. We're the most tariffed country on earth or something, so we have to tariff them back. And like, it's just grievance politics. It's always grievance politics. We're gonna nuke the world, and when asked why, Trump will say, well, they should have stopped nuking us.
Why do they have them?
And should we view these as permanent?
That, I think we're going to wait and see how this plays out.
And if countries retaliate, which some have said that they would, some have said they wanted to wait and see, what is the White House's response going to be to those countries?
Well, Caitlin, one of the messages that I'd like to get out tonight is everybody sit back, take a deep breath, don't immediately retaliate. Let's see where this goes, because if you...
What the f*** is this? We're gonna throw out global tariffs. Hey, every other country on earth, don't do anything. Just watch us cook. Don't have your own political processes. Just like let us like watch what we're about to do or something. Insane thing to ask. I will say though, there is a possible rationale for this, as insane as it is to phrase it like this. I saw some people banting it about on Twitter, and I think I agree, which is that one of the reasons these tariffs are so aggressive and so punitive and so insane and so unwise is that they are meant to be unworkable. And the goal is that Trump wants big businesses to pledge fealty to him in exchange for rescinding portions of the tariff. Basically, like, you know, if you bend the knee to me, you will get permission to move past the tariff. Now, Trump can do that with our tariffs. He can't do that with other countries' tariffs. It just seems more likely other countries will just trade with each other. Oh, they will. The rest of the world isn't going to wait on hand and foot while we blow ourselves up and treat this like a power game for a king, you know?
You retaliate, that's how we get escalation.
And then it becomes a full-fledged trade war, in your view?
I don't know. This sounds like assuming he's a 5D chess genius. No, that's not 5D chess. It's a really stupid idea. I just think that's what's going to happen. He's already done this. What is the Trump administration if not consistent on rewarding loyalty? That's like the main thing that he does. If you're nice to him, you get to be a cabinet secretary, you know? You get to be pardoned from jail. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're loyal to him, you get away with everything. It's very, very consistent with how he's already behaved. So I think we should expect to see him do this more in the future.
not a trade war. Depends on the country, but remember that the history of trade is we are the deficit country. The deficit country has an advantage. They are the surplus countries. The surplus countries traditionally always lose any kind of a trade escalation. So I did, as a student of economic history or a professor of economic history, I advise against it.
What if, just out of curiosity, what if they start trading with each other rather than us? Like, what if all the millions and millions of really, really complicated, sensitive trade lines that we run with other countries, what if they're like, well, we can't maintain those anymore, so we're going to build new ones and cut these ones off? They can do that? That's what I heard on Twitter.
So you're essentially saying that they should not retaliate?
I would say that doing anything rash would be unwise.
Oh, don't be hasty. You wouldn't tariff a birthday boy wearing glasses, would you?
On the 10% of all imports across the board, that's that baseline on all countries. You've said before that that tariffs should be used strategically. What is the strategy in that? What is the ultimate end game for that?
No, I'd said that that's one use of the tariffs. Go back all the way to Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton used them to raise revenue.
I've seen that play.
He used them to protect industry, and President Trump has added the third leg of the stool, which is strategic. So, if we are thinking about a 10% global tariff, and let's assume we import about $3 trillion a year, so that's $300 billion, and that's a substantial revenue raiser that could then be used for working Americans.
Yeah, I didn't really
on
get hip hop till I listened to Hamilton.
On Social Security, no tax on overtime, and for those buying autos, they can reduce their bills because interest on American-made cars will be tax deductible. So this is really a working class, the tariff and tax plan.
And if the point of this ultimately is to get people to buy more U.S.-made products, but you are counting on that revenue, as we've seen some of your colleagues like Peter Navarro arguing of how much money this could bring into the United States. In the end, wouldn't that theoretically dwindle over time if people are buying more U.S. and there's less money coming in from what's being imported into the United States?
Yeah,
don't think about that. Shut up. Gods! It's almost like tariffs are almost universally reviled by economists. They're just actually like really bad policy. Because she brings up an excellent point. What if the thing you want to happen happens, and tariffs incentivize American industry, and then you aren't making money off the tariffs anymore because no one's importing anything? They're relying on American manufacturing. How does the federal government get its money? Because you've cut income tax in favor of the tariff. Then you would just have to raise income tax. Now you're not making the money anymore.
That's a great question, and that's why in the past I've called tariff policy done properly is a shrinking ice cube, because what will happen, we will start out with high tariff income, but then as the factories come to the U.S., we will have more business income and we'll have more paycheck income because American workers will be earning. So you would see it's a rebalancing. So we'd rebalance away from tariffs to more domestic income.
But the idea that it would put a dent in the national debt then would seem not to be likely, right?
Well, not at all, because for right now, we have the income that we have, and we will be adding tariff income to that. So when we get CBO score.
Remember, the currently proposed 2025 to 2026 budget, the one that it looks like the Senate Republicans are gunning up to push forward, would massively expand the deficit. Was it like 5.5 trillion in debt over 10 years? Was the what was the framework again? Like, they expanded the existing framework because now they also want to add on the tax cuts. So it'll be the single biggest jump in our deficit, I think, ever, or up there. Like, we had a huge jump with the COVID emergency payments, but I think that in terms of like in modern American history, in lining up with like tax cut related deficit expansion, we're talking about maybe the biggest one ever. The tax cuts will create 9 trillion in debt. Tariffs will never, ever, ever make this back. 9 trillion over the next decade. 9 trillion. We're gonna end up being like a goddamn debtor's country. Like, we're gonna pay half of our national budget in interest on the debt. We're not even gonna cut into the principal.
Scoring, the CBO scoring is not going to include any tariff income. It's not going to include any. So this is all going to be extra. So we're at this, that the other T, other than tariffs, is tax. And from here, I'll be spending most of my time on the tax deal, and we're in this strange betwixt and between on the tax deal, because there will be substantial tariff income, there will be substantial cost savings, and we're not going to get credit for either of those.
Notice how her question was, how are you going to pay the government's debts when you're relying on tariffs, when your goal is to change our domestic economic policies in a way that we won't have tariff revenue anymore? And his response was, don't worry, we'll also be cutting income taxes. You paying attention? I know he also has his own, like, the weave thing going on, but he's essentially answering her by saying, well, it'll be worse than you think.
CBO scoring.
Well, and obviously that's why you've been having a lot of conversations with Republican lawmakers. But before I get to that in a moment, we're seeing international markets start to respond to the president's announcements. Obviously, the markets in the United States are already closed. What do you expect the stock market to look like when it opens tomorrow in reaction to this?
I don't know.
This was yesterday.
I don't know where it's going to trade open tomorrow. I don't know where it's going to close tomorrow. And, I think what's going to be important are the underlying economic fundamentals, because at the end of the day, Warren Buffett says in the short run, the market's a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine.
Well, and we've heard some of the allies of this White House say there will be some short-term pain for Americans. I think regular people watching may say, how do you define short term? What does that look like for me and for my...
Just listen, okay? Compared to your eternal reward in heaven, it's not a long time at all, but it will be for the rest of your life. Like, very arguably, American hegemony is done in an irreparable way. Like, you thought things were bad before, buddy. Listen, okay? The difference between a recession in America and a recession in, I don't know, Germany, is that we don't have a safety net, okay? If you thought it was bad before, you have no idea what's coming next, and it's not going to get any better.
Bottom line, what would you say to them?
Well, again, I think there are two things there to unpack, Caitlin. One is on what we were doing on government spending. So we're bringing down government jobs, we're bringing down government borrowing. So this unsustainable level of government stimulus is stopping. And then on the other side, private sector jobs and private sector borrowing will take over. Those may not be perfectly matched, but we did see an increase of 10,000 manufacturing jobs last month. On the other side, when you think about especially for working Americans, could we get a price adjustment due to the tariff? Maybe, maybe not. Walmart's CEO seems intent on making China, or his suppliers in China, eat all the tariffs. So Walmart, biggest retailer in America, 40 million people a week go in there. So, and then on the other side.
What? That is literally not how that works. The combined tariffs on China are like 54% or something. You pay the import when you import it. Walmart imports the resources. Are you going to force all these vendors in China to start paying you to sell their goods to you for like 2/3 the cost that they were before? That doesn't just cut into their margins. That makes it unprofitable for them. That doesn't make any economic sense. It's literally impossible. It's literally not possible. It's mathematically impossible. What he is describing right now, it cannot happen. There is no policy that could make that happen. I think that's literally what he means. Yeah, he's so dumb. No, he's not dumb. He's just evil. He knows he's lying. They all know they're lying. They just want you dead.
Once the tax bill gets through, then we will see the decrease for working Americans. So that's why part of what I've been doing up on the Hill is pushing the House, pushing the Senate, and they don't need much pushing, because I think the most undertold story in Washington these days is the level of Republican unity.
Yeah, well, on that front, and we'll see what Republicans do and how that looks. Obviously, that's the president's ambitious agenda. But on, the argument of short-term pain, long-term gain.
Are they not aware they'll be hurt by this in the long run as well? He's a billionaire. He'll be fine. He won't be hurt by this at all. If anything, he'll get to make moves in the stock market when everyone else is defaulting on their loans, mortgages, whatever else. He can swoop in. He's got the excess money. He's worth a couple billion. Maybe that gets cut in half. He's still worth a couple billion.
Seems what you're arguing about the long term, what this will look like. Prices will go up for Americans in the short term, right?
They could. They don't have to.
And that's if they don't have to, you're arguing if businesses do not pass those on to those consumers.
Well, and the President Trump's first administration's prices didn't go up, so the businesses don't have to pass them on, or the producers in the other countries can eat the tariffs. And traditionally,
guys, I've got a great idea. What if our economic policy relied on the assumption that millions of vendors across every country on earth would just choose to make their business unprofitable rather than increasing their prices so that they can not go bankrupt? What if the entire planet just went bankrupt in order to continue to supply us stuff at cost? The fucked up thing is, even if they did that, domestic American companies would still raise their prices when selling to you. Of course they would. You kidding? Why wouldn't they? Every Chinese vendor starts operating at a loss to keep the chain going. What if Walmart will still up the price? They don't care. Why not?
the dollar adjusts. So it's a very complicated calculus to see where we end up.
Yeah, and of course, these are much broader than the ones in the first term. The president was making the argument in the Rose Garden about what economists predicted then and what this looks like now. But on what you mentioned on what the president promised on the campaign trail, whether it comes to no taxes on tips or Social Security, do you envision this in a large way helping pay for that? Because sometimes that's a criticism from critics of this White House, saying that he's just using these tariffs to pay for the extension of those tax cuts.
Not going to work.
For the extension of the tax cuts or the new no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and auto deductibility. And look, what's wrong with that? That if we take the 10% ring around the globe tariff, that if there's a currency appreciation, if the producers eat a portion of it, and then there's a slight price adjustment on the other side, you have all four of those things happening for working Americans. At the end of the day, we could imagine that their real after-tax purchasing power has substantially increased.
And we'll see what that looks like. But on just this overall, you're coming into this, some people say, most Americans, I feel pretty good about where the economy was when President Trump took office. We saw the stock market rally.
All right, that's enough. I can't handle any more of this guy. I need to pace myself out a little bit. Just in, President Trump says the market is going to boom. Why look at that in text when you could hear it?
The markets today are way down, the worst day in years because of the tariffs. So how's it going?
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable.
You're not going to see a change in tone from him ever, by the way. Him or his disciples. So I hope you guys aren't crossing your fingers waiting for this. The most I would ask of you guys, or like the most you should expect to get, is when Republicans post about how they've lost their job and their 401ks are in the toilet and stuff. You should mock them relentlessly. You should be like genuinely horrible to them because they literally brought this on themselves. Trump was pointing the entire campaign. Trump was pointing at a big sign saying like, this is the exact thing that I'm going to do. I'm sorry, like the sympathy only runs out for so long, right? There are limits. There are limits. Very excited to do that. Be animated by spite if you can.
Certainly, the economy will be adjusting. The negotiations will continue. We are really, really excited and very grateful to President Trump's leadership and being willing to be bold and fearless in facing some pretty big policy challenges around the world.
So what is the impact on farmers then?
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, we're negotiating. Now we move into some
Chronology.
significant negotiations. I mean, I've got a great chart here. Well,
Oh yeah, you guys got to get on your shit. You got to be ready. The f***ed up thing is that a lot of the people during the Great Depression actually were like accomplished, and you guys aren't. Or me, you know, me walking down the streets in like 2028, wanted a decent job by a decent man, you know, age 34, live streamer, served frozen yogurt when I was 17, speaks English, stutters sometimes, 6'2". It's not. Some people might go for it. Better start learning Spanish or Chinese. I guess Mexico is exempted from some of the tariffs. Mexico and Canada weren't targeted by the tariffs. They got their own thing going on. Vaush is 28 right now. I wasn't doing the math in my head. I didn't keep the first number in my head of what year it was supposed to be when I then said my age. I'm gay. I can't do math. Republicans panic over Trump tariffs. Last time we lost the House and the Senate for 60 years. Oh, this is just Rand Paul. Rand Paul has been very openly against this crap. He voted in the Senate to overturn the Trump tariffs on Canada. We'll see how that goes. Sorry, you guys linked me so much shit. Rand Paul is a libertarian? No, he's a fascist, of course. But he's like a deficit hawk fascist.
The global economy is fundamentally different today than it was yesterday. The system of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over. Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over. The 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services, is over. Well, this is a tragedy. It is also the new reality. We must respond with both purpose and force.
I'm kind of here for this, you know? I'm kind of here, yeah, punished Carney, or like punished world, basically. Every world leader going up to the stage being like, you know, the 1,000-year reign of peace and prosperity are over. The dark times have begun. We must meet this moment with, with assurity and grace.
We are a free, sovereign, and ambitious country. We are masters in our own home.
That goes pretty hard. That's pretty good. If we're re-entering an era of multipolarity, then we re-enter an era of multipolarity inspired speeches, right? Politicians have basically been dickless since the 1980s in terms of like, compelling civilizational conflict narratives. We got to bring it back. Hi, Letnick.
It's time for America to stop taking care of every other economy in the world and building them up. Let's build the American economy up.
Great Secretary.
I thought we were going to listen. I want to listen to you. I mean, I don't want to, but...
The president decided, why don't we have a baseline of 10%? Okay, to really understand that everybody needs our economy. Our economy is the magnet of the world. Everybody needs our economy. Let's them pay coming in, and let's change that deficit of $1.2 trillion, and let's make America's economy grow, and let's balance that out. Let's fix that first.
Okay, this is boring.
Trump in the White House. That's why they put him there. Let Donald Trump run the global economy. He knows what he's doing. He's been talking about it for 35 years. You got to trust Donald Trump in the White House. That's why they put him there. Let him fix it.
I understand.
It's broken. Let him fix it. Our $36 trillion deficit, right, is going to ruin our children's lives and our grandchildren's lives. Let Donald Trump fix
the deficit by doubling it with more tax cuts to the wealthy. Gotcha. Canada slaps 25% tariff on American cars. Did this just happen? Are we getting retaliatory tariffs? Please, God. Yes! What are they going to say when they don't improve the deficit? They're going to go on TV and they're going to say they've improved the deficit. What do you expect? It seems meant to target specifically Tesla. I'm fine with that. How many cars actually get made in the US anyway? Yeah, I know about the car plant shutdowns in the Midwest. Layoffs less than 24 hours after the tariffs were implemented. Jesus. Just in, Pentagon Acting Inspector General announces investigation into Hegseth's use of signal chat for Houthi attack plans. Bro, did you not get the memo? You're gonna get disappeared, man. Republicans react to market plunge. Senator Tommy Tuberville brushed off the harsh reaction financial markets are having to Trump's new tariffs. They're all emotional. I've invested in the stock market for years. They go up and down on whether it rains or doesn't rain. It'll all turn around. Senator Jim Justice from West Virginia said it's okay to have concerns about the tariffs, but he has confidence in Trump, and as we move along, if you need to adjust, we adjust. Massive layoff in Iowa at Whirlpool Corp, European Union.
The opposite of what we wanted to achieve. The tariffs will also hurt consumers around the world. It will be felt
Lefty
immediately.
audio.
Millions of citizens will face higher grocery bills. Medication will cost more, as well as transportation. Inflation will go up. And this is hurting in particular the most vulnerable citizens. All businesses, big and small, will suffer from day one. From greater uncertainty to the disruption of supply chains to burdensome bureaucracy, the costs of doing business with the United States will drastically increase. And what is more, there seems to be no order in the disorder, no clear path through the complexity and chaos that is being created as all U.S. trading partners
She's not a lefty, she's a conservative. She's European, okay?
In the past 80 years, trade...
America is definitely winning on the Overton window of conservatism because our conservatives are so insane that they're doing the shit they're doing right now. Compare us to AFD. Oh, the AFD is Nazis? Well, Republicans are Nazis, and they just collapsed the global economy. Okay? Everyone in Europe is to our left. Thank you.
Between the European Union and the United States has created millions of jobs. Consumers across the Atlantic have benefited from reduced prices. Businesses have benefited from huge opportunities, leading to unprecedented growth and prosperity. And at the same time, we know that the global trading system has serious deficiencies. I agree with President Trump that others are taking unfair advantage of the current rules. And I'm ready to support any efforts to make the global trading system fit for the realities of the global economy. But I also want to be clear. Reaching for tariffs as your first and last tool will not fix it.
This is what I mean, man. It is so important. It is overwhelmingly important that countries acknowledge that we are the enemy. Like, we will not make it out of this if we are subject to like decades and decades and decades of appeasement just because we were the global economic force, okay? If the European Union consolidates and gets their shit together, they could become the dominant trade force in the world, alongside China. Like, you will only prolong the harm for everyone if you continue to placate us.
This is why from the outset, we have always been ready to negotiate with the United States to remove the remaining barriers to transatlantic trade. At the same time, we are prepared to respond. We are already finalizing the first package of countermeasures in response to tariffs on steel.
Yes.
And we're now preparing for further countermeasures to protect our interests and our businesses if negotiations fail. We will also be watching closely what indirect effects these tariffs could have, because we cannot absorb global overcapacity, nor will we accept dumping on our markets. As Europeans, we will always promote and defend our interests and our values, and we will always stand up for Europe.
Try to find Fox News' coverage of the massive stock market crash, which is the biggest story of the day. You know, we don't usually look at the Fox News front page. Let's take a look. Yeah. All right. Crossing the aisle. Dem rep offers rare praise for Trump, vows to help work on key part of tariff plan. Which countries impose the highest tariffs on the United States? Canada responds to Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Trump rolls out sweeping new tariffs. What to know? Trump issues prognosis for U.S. after tariffs in medical metaphor. Tucked away up here in the top right, you have... Oh! There it is. You have the... Just a little bit... Just tiny little news story up here. Flashing. We have the market crash currently taking place. It's fine. It's fine. Trending. Trump's first 100 days. Doge. Karen Reed. Dems in disarray. Trump's tariffs already have countries crawling back to negotiate and making threats. Dad speaks out after teen son brutally killed at track meet. My life was destroyed. I think I saw this on Twitter. Okay. I don't know this for sure. I'm just going to take a guess. Because it's on the front page of Fox News, and when I saw it trending, one of the Twitter accounts I saw trending with it was N Wokeness. I'm going to guess it was a black guy. And they're really mad about it. I'm just going to guess. Russia fires back at Trump's illegal and unacceptable Iran threat. Former Biden staffer says she feels lied to as devastating revelations emerge. You know, I swear to God that even just like 5 years ago, Fox News articles did not read like Daily Mail articles. These are all clickbait titles. Like all of them. It's literally like, here's the... Democrats don't want you to know the race of the person who killed teen son brutally at track meet. Devastating revelations emerge as former Biden staffer, etc., etc. Illegal immigrants nabbed in blue state for targeting homeowners. Police say American Airlines passengers evacuate in plane's wings after landing. Oh, another plane shenanigan. Kamala Harris was very annoyed with Obama, according to new book. That's great. Let's see. Grilled cheese recipes. Martin Scorsese presents. Woke Neil Young fears President Trump will jail him at U.S. border. Drive less than 50 miles a day. You may get a discount. Today's biggest news in the story. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Below the grilled cheese ads. Dow Jones down over 1,200 points as Trump's tariffs roil global markets. There we go. There we go. Jesus Christ, man. And you wonder why we're in this position. Again, I know I'm a broken record on this, but it's not just about Trump, and it's not just about the voters. It's the media environment, because there's no country can survive this, man. What country could possibly survive like billions and billions of dollars being poured into constructing this insane and this biased of a media infrastructure? I can't talk at all today. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted, man. This is end of civilization shit. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. This is, listen, okay, which is more deleterious to society? All right. The high crime of the 1990s, or a delusional media environment that makes people think crime is higher than it was in the 90s, even though it's dropped by like 2/3. I would say the latter. Fox News homepage from 10 years ago. Ooh, web archive. That's interesting. If it would load. Even Fox Business is not addressing the downturn in their articles. Fox Business. For people who like business, well, at least they have the stock market tickers on the right here. The giant flashing red indicators and the cryptocurrency subheader. Yeah. Auto giant makes sweeping changes to production and staff in response to Trump tariffs. Wait, is this the one that just did the layoffs? No, it can't be. That would be so funny. Trump tariffs already taking effect as auto manufacturer in U.S. makes sweeping changes to... Oh, it can't be. That'd be too funny. It is!
Welcome back. Let's check markets this morning. We have a firmer tone kicking off the day. The Dow Industrial's up 100.
I can't believe it. It's the 900. What's the term? The only time I was ever wrong was when I doubted myself. The only time I was ever wrong was when I overestimated Fox News. Jesus Christ. It's not even the same title, man. It's not even remotely the same title. Stellantis pauses some Mexico-Canada production, temporarily lays off 900 workers. Versus Auto Giant makes sweeping changes production and stuff. Dude, These people all need to be in jail. This needs to be a crime. I'm not kidding. This is end of civilization shit. Literally. Society cannot survive this, man. Holy shit. Wow, what a blast from the past. It doesn't have all of the images loaded, but Fox News from 10 years ago. From, no, not from 10, wait. What's the date? Oh yeah, here we go. February 7th, 2015. It's way less, like the Daily Mail, I guess. I mean, you can read these article headlines, but they're a lot more descriptive. Do you think they're doing this to develop a technocracy? No, not even remotely. They're doing this because they're authoritarian. The more ill-informed the population is, the, more able they are to... They don't like education, Really it. Just the more stupid and ill-informed people are, the more likely they are to vote Republican. And that's a fact. That's not... Voting Republican correlates positively with low education and low IQ. It's literally true. That's just a fact. You can't get mad at me for facts. I still can't believe this, man. Check out literacy rates then and now. Oh yeah, if you literally, like, it's not even just like an uneducated thing, but if you take a look at any teacher talking about their students right now in America, you will want to punch your own ticket early. Like, it's pretty bad. Gen Alpha's, it's not just Gen Alpha. Man, it's like college students too. It's like everyone, everywhere, in every way, it's bad. Argentina's president's off to Mar-a-Lago defending Trump's tariffs. That's who I want on my side when it comes to the big, like, who has the best economy ideas. Javier Milei. That's my guy right there. You know that Trump f***ed off and, like, went to host a golfing tournament? He literally goodnight y'alled after the tariffs went out. The funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. After unveiling tariff plan, Trump will abandon White House early today for Miami Golf Club. He will then spend the night at Mar-a-Lago. Just phenomenal. Hosting the LIV golf tournament. Isn't that like a Saudi thing? LIV golf tournament. Saudi-owned league? Oh, LIV is Roman. It's 54. Okay, gotcha. 54 Golf is financed by the Public Investment Fund, the sovereign wealth fund of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, there you go. That's funny. Milei turned around from being pro-Ukraine to pro-Russia like this. Well, the funniest thing with Milei is that Milei's economic policy for Argentina was the literal exact opposite of what Trump is doing now. Milei said, open up the markets, devalue Argentinian currency so that we incentivize foreign investment. Trump is doing the opposite. He's saying we don't want foreign investment. We want investment in the country, but we don't want to, like, trade with other countries. We want to handle everything internally. It's the literal exact opposite policy. Milei, tariffs bad. Trump, tariffs good. Milei goes defends him. Bro is just pro bad things. True. His spokesperson dismissed the irony of Milei defending Trump's 10% tariffs on Argentine products, even as he staunchly opposes protectionism for Argentina's long-constricted economy. Trump is not a protectionist, Manuel Adorni said. We have more tariffs than any country on earth right now. What? Okay. We believe his approach is pro-trade. Okay. Was that thing that I read some time ago real, where Trump took notes at a conference and said his notes said trade equals bad or something like that? Is that real, or was that like a shitpost? Doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't at this point. It is spiritually true, which is the only thing that really matters at this point, I guess. I do wish I could confirm whether or not that was real, though. As an American with a New York accent, will you apologize for trying? I don't have a New York accent. I just say coffee. I like saying coffee, but that's just because I'm still in the process of watching Sopranos. And it's fun. Vaush is the most Cali accent ever. Yeah, I've got a hella Cali accent. U.S. companies say Canadian retailers to turn away products. Based? We'll see if that actually amounts to anything, though.